Hello, 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 and welcome back to another YouTube and Facebook Live. I feel like it's been forever, so we're gonna be giving people time to come on. But while they're coming on, um, I'm just excited to have everyone on here. Happy New Year's to everyone.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you, thank you. How was your New Year's?
Quiet and peaceful at home.
Yeah. Same. We got to look at some fireworks outside of our window. We have like these dueling communities who shoot off the little local fireworks, but it was pretty substantial. So we got to enjoy that.
Awesome. Nice. So, those who have been watching, we've been doing, last month, we had a series with James, Mr. J Speaks, Phil, and Brenda. Well, it had been increasing, right? So it started with me and Mr. J and Gabrielle. Then it was me and Mr. J and James and Brenda, right? And then me, James, Phil, Brenda, and Chenzia. And so everybody's been loving it. We've been talking about dating, online dating, relationships, and just free flowing, having fun, having great conversation. Brenda, I know everybody's going to be so sad she could not make it tonight. I know everybody's been loving Brenda. Even Mr. J was like, "What? No, Brenda?" I know. So, and Phil couldn't make it tonight, but we have Aaron, who's also awesome. So we're going to be talking about just understanding the male psyche in dating. And I want to preface this with, we can't generalize, and we have two individuals here who will share their thoughts. And again, they cannot speak for all men, right? So this really just kind of started because most of my lives I have women on and we're constantly talking, and I've had people say, we want to hear from men, we want to hear male's perspective, and quite honestly I do too. I want to hear male's perspective. So we're going to be having this format, this live, talking about dating and relationships with these the first Wednesday of the month. We're going to be doing this, and then the rest of the Wednesdays is going to be my regular schedule, talking about sexuality, relationships, Tantra. So let's get to it. We got people on. Welcome. As you're coming on, say hello. If you have questions for the ladies or for the men, ask away, please do. Say hi, and let us know if you've been watching the other lives as well.
What's cool is Aaron and I are about 20 years different in age, right? And so
what? Wait, shut up. Get out of here.
Either.
20 years difference. Hello, Ajia. Wait, how old are you, Jay?
Me? I'm 46.
And how old are you, Aaron?
Exactly 26.
Oh my God. So we're 20 years difference.
Right.
Same here. I'm 46. I'll be 46.
Let me stop looking at you the way I've been looking at you, because now I feel like, never mind. Okay.
So you're going to get it good.
Part of the conversation too.
You're going to get good perspective from, a younger fella and a not so younger fella.
Yes. So I see Facebook is pretty strong. Hello, Crucian. Hello, Amy. All right. So one of the questions that I had a couple of, so listen, seriously, like this week, I have two girlfriends who've just been like, I don't understand men. And they're like, I'm ready to give up on this online dating. One friend got rid of her Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, Badoo, all of it. Like, so what we've been talking about is that these guys, and both of these friends are in Brazil. So let me preface that. So I don't know if it's exactly the same in the States, but one is here in Rio, the other one is in Salvador, and one is in Sao Paulo. And the common thing has been men may saying, you know, they want to go out with you, they want to see you, they really like you, but then either not really taking the initiative, or when you have plans, no showing, going ghost. So can we start with that? What is that about? Like, what happens? Why in a guy's mind would he say to the woman, oh yeah, I'm interested, I can't wait to go out with you, and then the day comes and nothing happens?
I have my thoughts before they answer, but go ahead, guys.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So I have my thoughts too, but we want to hear from the men.
Well,
and then the women, we could give our thoughts as well.
You know,
we got ladies up in here waiting to hear you guys.
That's not a thing that I've ever done. I think the most that I could be accused of in that realm is maybe not taking the initial initiative to set up the date. And just to give you, you know, some explanation on that, I don't like to be the pushy guy. I think it's important that you know, for me, it's important to let things happen organically. And for me, sometimes what that means is that the woman is comfortable enough to say, hey, why don't we meet up? I think it's different if we've established that she wants to meet up, and then, you know, we set a date. That's a different thing. But
this is the exact thing. Date have been set up, and then you don't hear anything else from the person.
Right.
The day of
two scenarios, though. You said your first scenario. You said they don't take the initiative, right?
Okay, so let's start with this one because they were both questions.
Right. So to that question,
go ahead.
A lot of times, you know, sometimes women will accuse men of trying to move too fast. Oh, you know, he you know, I just met him. Now he wants to meet up already. Dad, give me a minute. Let me get to know you on this text or on the phone or on video before you say, can we meet up? Right. So that's one thing. But then also is
she's like, I want to hear from the young guy. Go ahead, Jay. Patience. We talking about patience.
Right. And you know, to your point, that's exactly what I'm talking about, right? Just being patient and kind of letting the woman feel comfortable enough before we decide, you know, that we're going to get together. Now I'm gonna let the young guy talk.
You know, so just like what we named in the beginning, well, more so building on what Jay was saying, I think when that situation happens, if a guy's given a lot of effort and, you know, all of a sudden there's a switch, right? In my perspective, I would envision that being like, you know, expectations didn't match reality. So like what I expect from this relationship either seems like, oh, that's going to be too much work, or like I saw somebody else in the comments say, I might have my own situation going on, so I can't give enough energy or intention to what we have going on. So, you know, they might entertain it up until it gets to a point where a decision needs to be made or actions need to be taken. And then that's when, you know, you get to really see, oh, are they really about this? Because they have to put action behind those words.
So I think what Mr. Anton said in the comments is more than likely the deal. They are married, they're in a relationship, and I think in the online format, it's just a chase, right? It's a high in the middle of the day. I mean, it's just something that, you know, you're entertaining, you're thrilling. Can you hook this woman in? And then boom, you got her. You set that date, and then bam, ghost, done. On to the next one. So.
Right, I think that too, and I do want to address what Adia Brown said, because she said, let the young guy answer. This is more his generation kind of thing. I don't agree with that because, you know, everyone right now, especially with COVID, you got people in their 40s, 50s, 60s dating, online dating, and even pre-COVID. I mean, there's single people in their 50s and 60s that's dating. we ain't dead because we're 46. And I know at 56 I ain't gonna be dead. So, you know, it's definitely, and I do see older generation people doing this. Now, my friends who did ask this question that said that they are Aaron's age, but I've experienced this too. So just recently, you know, I'm 46. I was talking to a guy on Tinder, and he's 49. Fine too. And then I was like, well, why are you single? And then he was like, oh, because I live with my mother or something like that. And then I was like, okay. And then he literally, so same thing, we set up a date, we're supposed to go out. And then I heard from him that day. He was like, I'm looking forward to it. And I'm like, me too. Then nothing at all. So it was like, so he's almost 50 and doing that same thing.
Again, I think the online world just allows us to live out a fantasy, right? So it's just a fantasy world. Again, can I engage with someone? Can I connect with someone?
Yeah.
And then, you know, you take it all the way to that point and then no show, you know. And I've heard stories of people who have done online dating and they thought they vetted the person. They went to a restaurant or wherever they were supposed to meet up and the person didn't show. You know, and you can't get a hold of them after that. So, again, I just think it's the fantasy.
Right. And Mr. Antoine, that's what I was about to say. His mother was his wife. That's exactly what it was. And I agree. I think that, Clifford says, dating platforms are not the problem. You either seriously looking or you're playing.
You know, so
I like to expand on that. Go ahead.
There's a little truth to that, right? In that, you know, people are looking for different things. What I find more often than not, and this is from just having a lot of conversations with dudes, but also with women and just their troubles with dating, is that people are afraid to say what they really want because they think that they're going to get a no. And so
they think they're going to get what?
They think they're going to get a no as a response to them saying what they want. So, you know, not everybody's looking for a serious relationship. Not everyone is looking to be on a relationship escalator. Sometimes people just want to hang out, just want to date. Sometimes they just want to, you know, have some sex, but they don't want to say that. I think women don't want to say it because they don't want to be viewed as like, you know, as sluts or whores or whatever derogatory term you can use, right? Men don't want to say it because they think that if they are truthful, they won't get anything. So we're operating out of this element of fear of not getting what we want, when the truth is, if you just were probably straight up about it, and straight up doesn't mean that you have to be crass about it. It just means that if you are transparent up front about what you're looking for, you will more likely attract the people who you're looking for. But if you are dishonest, you know, then you prepare yourself for these type of situations where someone has finally made a date with you and then you don't show up.
Right. And, you know, and I want to piggyback. So I agree, dating platforms are not the problem. And I don't think, you know, any of us feel like it's a problem, you know, and I agree, like you're either going to be seriously looking, or you're going to be looking to be dating, or you're going to be looking to be playing around, or you're going to be looking to see, okay, what can I get? Now here in Brazil, particularly, I do know people who are straight up. There's a man who put on his Tinder just his tongue, and I had a friend in town who literally, she was here visiting and she just wanted to have sex. So she messaged him back and she's like, yeah. So he was straight up, this is what I want to do. And she's like, straight up, this is all I want. I don't live here. She was trying to set it up and then nothing happened. So even with that, then she was like, well, she was staying at my house, so it wasn't going to happen at my house. So she was like, well, can you get a hotel? And then the guy was like, well, I can't afford a hotel. So I told her, well, then why don't you just pay for the hotel? I'm like, because you really want it. But she's like, no, I'm not going to pay for a hotel to do it. He needs to pay. So then I'm like, so then that's a whole nother thing. Like, so this guy wanted to do that, but then he didn't want to pay for the hotel to go do that. And
well,
he
said he couldn't pay.
Huh?
He said he couldn't pay. He can afford it.
Yeah, he can afford it.
Okay. It's not that he didn't want to.
Well, if he really wanted to, they would have figured it out. He would have gotten a cheap, like a nice, cheaper hotel or something. Like,
or was it worth that much effort?
Trust me. Okay, I want to hear from the men. If you really want to do something, is there anything that's going to stop you from doing that?
Can I touch on that first?
Go ahead.
All right. So I have something to add to what Jay was saying earlier. I think also when we talk about online dating specifically, like I'm not going to look for my soulmate on Tinder. So I'm not going to sit down and like have a 2-hour conversation with every person I swipe right with. You know, it's a short attention span type of thing as well, depending on what you're actually looking for. But getting to what you were saying now, I would say, sorry, can you repeat the question one more time? I want to make sure I hit it clearly.
What was the question? What were you responding to? I forget.
I wanted to add to what Mr. J was saying, but I wanted to make sure I'm addressing the question directly.
So let's take a question
was that
from
in reference to Clifford asked or said?
No, you asked what if we really want to do something, you know.
Oh, yeah.
There are a few things that'll stop, like if it's within our power, then there are a few things that'll stop us from actually, you know, achieving whatever that goal is, or, you know, when it comes to courting a woman, just, you know, showing that effort. Now, if there's something on the back end, something we can't put on the table or be transparent about, then you might start to get more of the fluctuation and varying responses like you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
So there's a question in the comments that says, how do you really know that a man is into you? So for you guys, starting with you, Aaron, how do you show a woman that you're really interested in her? So when you're swiping, you stay a little longer in conversation.
So words of affirmation are a big thing for me, but that's also something like I just love language. And, you know, ironically, that's part of my love language as well. But even beyond that, just quality time. Like, am I reaching out to you, initiating conversation? Am I initiating us hanging out? Am I taking any kind of initiative, or am I just responding and going with the flow? And if I'm going with the flow, then, you know, things may not need to be as serious or may not be as serious. Whereas if I'm, you know, taking more of that directive, then, you know, I have plans for where I want the relationship to go, wherever that may be.
Mr. J?
I mean, so Amy asked a couple of questions. I think to her first question of how do you know a man is into you? I think there's a certain level of attention that is given, a certain level of effort and consistent effort, right? You know, if I'm chasing you, and then, you know, we go on a date and then you don't hear from me again, or you hear from me, you know, maybe once every 10 days, you know, I think you should be able to discern that I'm just not into you, right? But if I'm consistent throughout the courting process, just getting to know you, and then consistent, you know, after we have met, and then consistent in engaging you and trying to find opportunity to get to know you and to do other things with you, I think those are good indicators. But also, what I say should match what I do. Right?
Yes.
You know, if a man in particular, you know, sometimes we say that when a man tells you something about himself, believe him.
Yes.
Right? But even with that, you still gotta have that you should still be watching that his actions match his words. And I mean, you do that with everything else, right? If your boss kept telling you that, yeah, I value your work, you're doing a great job, but you never get a raise, well, then there's an inconsistency there, because their words do not match the expected actions, right?
Right.
So, I mean, a lot of these things are experiences that you would have in other aspects of your life. I think also often we don't, when I say we, I'm actually referring to women, don't really apply the things that can be applied globally to relationships.
So I'm going to jump in there because I'm going to take from the words of Brenda. She's not here, but she's going to be here in spirit because we have this conversation all the time. And women, you just said something, Mr. J. So two things, breadcrumbing, right? That's a term where I text you and then maybe I text you 10 days later, or maybe a month goes by and I send a hey, good morning, hello, beautiful, just to see if you're out there, right? So that is a quick sign, you know, they're just breadcrumbing to see if you're available to talk because they're bored. But the second thing is women. You said it. Guys will 9 times out of 10 tell you the truth. And I think if a guy tells you something negative about themselves, pay attention. But I think, as we always say in our little girl conversation, women create their own fantasies. And so you just told me you're not reliable, but you told me I'm beautiful. You told me all these wonderful things. You want to take me on vacation. You want to do this. And I'm so wrapped up in this, I let this red flag or yellow flag just fly right by. And so someone else said on there, you know, 6 months in, do you know? How do you know if a woman's the one, or do you know the woman's the one? I think women need to stop and think, is this man the one? Have I looked for all the red flags? You know, living with the mom, like, do they live with the mom for real? Does the mom live with them? Is mom a girlfriend? You know?
Well, that was definitely a red flag. Like when he said that, it was like, but he was so fine. I was like, all right, I would just hit that, you know, but then it didn't even come to that. So, you know, but that was definitely a red flag, because I'm like, okay. And to that, Clifford says, if a man doesn't effectively communicate that they want to see you, they're playing. Nothing wrong with that. Just recognize what is in front of you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's from a man.
And then for going back to Amy, you were saying, is it accurate that a man knows a woman is truly the one? And so you said that, and then she asked another question. Are men intimidated by independent women?
The only reason a man will be intimidated by an independent woman is if he has either an ego problem or if he feels like he's lesser than or inadequate in some way. Personally, I know my own worth and what I bring to any relationship, any conversation, any table. So if I'm meeting an independent woman, then, you know, we just have an empire at that point. There's nothing for me to be afraid of.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm with Aaron 100% on that. I actually want someone who is very much capable of standing on their own. And when I was young, like Aaron's age, I used to say, hey, listen, I need a strong woman, because if we have children together and we're both strong, God forbid anything happens to me, I know that they're still in good hands. So that's how I used to look at it when I was in my early 20s before I got married, right? And I still believe that. I have the pleasure in my life to have dated very independent, strong, inspiring women. I'm not intimidated by independent or strong women. Now, I am going to say, though, because we also got to keep it real, that there are a lot of brothers out there who actually are intimidated by strong women, and it could be for a host of reasons. I don't think there's a one way to answer your question, right? I don't think it's easy to say yes or no, right? And even if I said yes, I could give you a host of reasons of why a man might be intimidated. And if I say no to your answer, I can still give you a host of reasons of why a man will not be intimidated. I think what's important is that when you, and I believe this is Amy who asked the question, when you're dating, you should be asking questions, right? You should be paying attention to the questions that are being asked of you, especially if none are being asked of you.
Yes.
Because if a man is not asking you questions, then he's and I shouldn't just say a man, anybody that you might be dating, whether you're a man or a woman, I don't care what the relationship is, the person should be both interested and interesting, right? And if they're never asking you anything about yourself, I mean,
red flag.
That's a huge red flag, right?
Red flag.
So you should be asking your own questions, and when you hear the answers, you should be asking, well, what do those things mean? And anybody that's heard me speak on any of these know that I'm very consistent in saying this. You have to ask a lot of questions for yourself. That's your research. It's the same thing if you're trying to buy a pen on Amazon. You're going to look up all the details. You're going to review. You're going to try to figure out all these things about that one little pen that's probably $5. But we don't put that effort into relationships. I've said this time and time again. Ask questions, then ask follow-up. Well, what do you mean by what you say? And then you should be sharing what your understanding of that of that word or phrase or answer is, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you should absolutely be denoting any time a person that you're interested in is not asking you anything about yourself.
True.
Aaron's dying to say something. What, Aaron?
Go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, I was waiting. I saw a couple of comments in the chat just building on the idea that men want submissive women or that men believe dependence equals surrender. I see where both of those ideas are coming from, but I think it's more so a man wants to be able to be a man. And with an independent woman, they may not need him to be a man. So if that's the case, then I already feel like I don't have a role in this relationship, or, my role is somewhat already filled. And for a man with a frail ego, that's something that's going to turn them left or, lead to those different behaviors that we have talked about already. Now, what Jay was saying about having a lot of reasons why men don't like independent, strong women, I think a lot of them stem from the men, from the man themselves. I don't think it's reflective on the women. And also, just one last thing, touching on what someone is saying in the chat as well about being taken to the next level. I don't think that in a relationship you observe your partner soaring leaps and bounds ahead of you. And if that's the case, then, maybe y'all need to reconvene and just check the direction of things, because I feel like you should be growing at a measurable pace together. And if you're not growing together, you're growing apart. And if you're growing apart, then you're going to lead to, those different kind of problems we mentioned.
Right. So, I want to add on in terms of if independent women are intimidating, I think it also depends on that independent woman. How does she exert her independence? Is she emasculating to the man? Does she not make him feel like, he has a purpose in her life? Or is she dependent but still loving towards him, respectful towards him, having, making sure that he knows that he's needed as well? Because we can't do everything. So there is a healthy amount of interdependence and need out there for your partner when you're in a relationship, so there's so many different factors. And Clifford was saying about the flashlight, it's also, women also have to put a flashlight on themselves. What is keeping men from taking you to the next level? So I think, it's important for all of us, men and women, to look at. And I do want to say something to that, like, with my work, I do a lot of work. And so, for example, I have a yoni massage course right now. So I'm teaching how to do yoni massage. I have 20 people, 18 women, and 2 of them are men. So to that point, there's a lot of women doing the work on themselves and looking, even taking this yoni massage class so that they can learn how to touch themselves and be orgasmic. And then only 2 men in that class taking it to learn how to help their woman be orgasmic. So it's like, what's the divide? This is the yoni massage course. I thought it would be filled with all men, more men at least than women. So, so to that, I'm not saying that women don't need to look, but in general, you tend to see a lot of women doing this type of healing work, trying to look within themselves. And I don't know, maybe this is something I would love to hear from you guys. Why is it that less men are doing this work? So like, I have a men's circle. I had 1 man sign up for the men's circle. I have a women's circle. My Tantra courses that I'm doing, there's always more women. There's always like 1 or 2 men coming to my Tantra courses and tons of women coming to the Tantra courses. So like, what is that divide in terms of doing the work on yourself, looking at yourself to improve relationships?
You know, I want to say for the audience, because we all know each other from our Tuesday night adult conversations. And so we kind of know Aaron and Jay are kind of anomalies. They're a little different from the average guy.
Right.
In fact, I think Aaron said something about his love language. Like, how many 20-something-year-olds do you know talk about their love language?
Right.
So I just disclaimer there. So go ahead, guys. Answer for the other guys if you can.
Well, I wanted to back up a little bit because, you know, I think one of the things that you were saying, Renee, was centered around vulnerability, right? When we were talking about dependence and codependence and interdependence, people want to be with someone that's not necessarily submissive, like, but vulnerable, that is going to let you in, right? I think it's real important that, like, we don't look at the person and say, well, in order for us to be together, you got to be submissive to me, or you have to be dominant to me. It really is, to me, more about the vulnerability that each partner in that relationship has to show. Now, again, you made a point. We are not the average guys. I mean, it's true, and I think that's why we're here, right? Because we both know average dudes who could benefit from some of this dialogue, and I hope some of them are listening. The latter part, I forgot your actual question because I was really trying to get back to that point, but
that happens.
Yeah, it does.
Basically, why don't men do the work? You know, what prohibits or stop men from doing the work?
Yeah. So I want to show you something, right? Okay. You see this? Right?
Your big old muscles. Yes, we see big old muscles.
Right?
Look at the muscles.
Now check it out. Check it out. A lot of dudes think that no matter how big they are, that if they just do a little bit, that they are brolic and they're strong and they diesel, right? And so they don't feel like a lot is needed for them when they start doing work, right? They have this illusions of grandeur, if you've ever heard that term, right? Mm-hmm. Right? They think, well, I really don't need this, but okay, even if I do it, I don't need that much of it. Like, I'm capable, I'm a grown-ass man, I'm capable of figuring this out on my own. And so, you know, and someone said it's not expected of them. That's also true. I mean, some of the expectations of men are not really to do internal work on themselves, right? What's expected of men is to just be strong and be providers and all of these other things. We're usually not equipped or permitted to do the emotional work that we need to do on ourselves, to do the types of things that are considerate of, you know, especially men who date women. We're not always expected to do the work that, or do things to bring her pleasure. We will more think that we have what it takes already to bring her pleasure. So why do we need to take a class for that?
All right. And so Clifford and Mr. Antoine both commented to that as well. So Clifford says, our community doesn't work on mental health either. We have trauma from life that we take into relationships that damage, sabotage relationships. Very true. We have that generational trauma that stays with us. And there's been this stigma, especially in the Black community, right? The Black community, the Latino community. You have to be strong. You know, you have to be able to do this. You know, going to mental health is a sign of weakness. Going to someone for help is a sign of weakness. And that's been the stigma. And that's something that's changed. It's changed for the most part. It's still changing, still a lot of work to do. Now, it also needs to change that stigma in terms of sexuality, which is why I'm having these conversations every week, because we don't have these talks about sex. It's so taboo. And this causes a lot of problems. We have so much trauma. We could have so much better fulfilling lives if we just normalize these things, you know?
And so I was talking to a friend earlier today, and we had the comment, and years ago there was this book that men are from Mars and women are from Venus, and it talked about the differences between the two sexes. And so, to bring a phrase that said earlier, when you tell a man you're not meeting my needs, the first thing they think is, well, I provide for you. I've paid the bills, I've done this, everything you've asked for, I've purchased, I bought. But there's that disconnect in what they think is a need and what we see as a need. And so I think that's again, it goes back to those gender roles that are given to us, and especially with generation. And so Aaron's generation is more of where we're getting in touch with our feelings. But in the past, that wasn't the case. And again, in a man's idea, from my opinion, it's basically, I've taken care of you financially, I've provided you security, but that love, that emotional connection, there's that disconnect there. And so that's what women are seeking.
And so Mr. Antoine says, people don't like to hear they aren't doing something correct. So if you go to that class, the woman is going to be forced to tell him the truth. Then he might hear something that will hurt his pride. So men are very sensitive, right?
Yes.
And yeah, I like that he said that. And I think that is something, and I'd love to hear from the guys on that point of view too. That is something really important to address as well, because this is the thing. So like this course, for example, we're just going to this course, for example, since I brought that up, the Yoni massage course. It's about learning how to connect and please yourself as a woman, as well as being able to please that woman as a man. So now, where did we learn how to do this? We didn't learn. Most of the times our parents didn't teach us. Most of the times the school didn't teach us, because they just, the schools doesn't teach that. So where do you learn? From watching porn?
Yeah. Which is not accurate.
Stuff, and yes, exactly. And the porn is not accurate. So it's like, okay, how do you as men let down your pride so that you can learn something different, which is not saying that you're doing anything wrong or you don't know what you're doing, but just teaching you to do something in a different way. And I think also the point, what he said is going to this class and the woman is going to tell you that you're doing something wrong. So I think, so from that perspective, there's already a mindset that I'm going to be told I'm doing something wrong, which is not what it's about. Like, if anybody has taken a class with me, or if you've done any work in this healing field, it's not saying you're wrong and you're doing this incorrectly. It's about, okay, how can we expand on that? How could we do even better than what you're doing now? And it's in a loving way, and it's not in a judgmental way. It's not in a negative way. And so I think a lot of times people don't know that, but the men come in thinking that way.
Okay.
That's a lot, I know.
Yeah, it's a lot. I and someone else said it in a group, right? That a lot of people just don't have self-awareness. So that's one thing, right? We're not always in tune with the things that we don't know about ourselves. And so we may think that the way that we've been doing it is just the way to do it. Some people lack humility and they want to learn, and because they have self-awareness, they are able to discern when there are some issues, or if there's a lacking in their, especially with intimacy with a partner. And then they may ask questions. I learned a lot because I asked my partners questions. I'm a Virgo too, so I'm just, you know how it is, right?
But see, again, I think that's anomaly, because you ask a lot of questions. A lot of men don't ask a lot of questions. They rather have less conversation. I think somebody said in the comment, they gravitate to the path of least resistance. So the less conversation I have, the less.
Yeah.
So, but
men also don't want to hurt. Like, they don't want to feel like they're hurting you or they're going to make you upset. Like they don't like to deal with that pain and that confrontation.
That's what it was for me. When we talk about building self-awareness, not to take away from what you were saying, Jay, but just when building my own self-awareness, I had to see how it impacted other people. And, I had to be that person to make mistakes and be quote unquote average to learn, from experience myself, because I couldn't ask my dad about what he did in his day because that's no longer applicable. Like, it's a different generation. And, you know, I'm not going to ask my friends because we're going through the same thing together. And, you know, just a little brighter than that. But that is part of it as well. Just making sure that you're seeing how you impact other people as well with your actions.
Absolutely. And I think as you age, one of the things of beauty with age is that you have an opportunity to gain some wisdom, right? And to do things differently. And so I think it makes sense that, Aaron, you at 26, you're going to be making certain mistakes. I was probably making the same mistakes that you're making right now, right? And that's okay. But hopefully you grow. Like I didn't have the same level of self-awareness now that I had when I, 25, 20, 25, 30 years ago. I was a different dude back then, right? And that's okay. But hopefully people get that there are multiple ways to gain knowledge. And, going to a class is one. Asking your partner, hey, is there anything that I can do differently to bring you more pleasure when we're being intimate? Like, yo, ask that question. And you know what? You may not like the answer right away, but a woman especially is going to tell you, hopefully she knows what she needs, but a woman will tell you, hey, I need you to do these things, or, I need you to touch me here. I need you to kiss me there. Those are, and then you got to hear that and try to apply it. You don't have to
but see, I think that's a fine line, and I think, and I speak from my own experience with this, I think it's the way women present it sometimes. And again, going back to that male ego, instead of saying, I want you to do this, maybe sometimes it's nonverbal communication or something that a man wouldn't find as offensive. And, some women may say, well, why do I have to stroke his ego or be gentle? Why can't I just be upfront? But I think it's a fine line. And again, it goes back to learning each other and the communication styles. And I can't say that I'm the expert. I'm still trying to figure it out. But I know that can be a problem. Sometimes women being too upfront, men take that back seat and they don't want to hear it. They don't want to be told they're doing something wrong. And it's not that you're saying that they're doing it wrong, but it's how it's perceived on the other end.
Right. So I just want to say real quick, you are welcome, Mr. Antoine said thank you for touching on these subjects. And I just want to say on this note, just thank you to all of you who are watching, commenting, asking questions. I love this. This is how we all learn and we all grow, from commenting and sharing our experience. So this is awesome. Loving this. Adia says the greatest intimacy you can have with someone is great communication.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And you know what? To Chinzia's point, communication is sometimes nonverbal, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you're having sex with someone and you're all into it and they just laying there, bruh.
Yep, that's a sign.
I mean, right? I mean, you gotta pay attention to what's going on. You can't just think, oh yeah, girl, I know you love this. Yeah, boo. Yeah, do it. Mm-hmm. She's not into it. Right. Like, she doesn't need to say to you, bro, I'm not really enjoying this. You gotta pay attention to what's happening. And dude, I can't say this enough. Stop being so goddamn sensitive. Like men are, everything is not an affront on your manhood, right? You talked about your class, right? And you said that, and we were talking about people, men in particular, not wanting to come because they don't want to be told they're doing something wrong. But I looked at that differently. I said, you go to the class because you want to be told that you learned something great.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Right? Like, you got to change your perspective. Everything is not an attack on you.
Yes.
Everything is not an attack. Like, I do things in my life to make me better constantly.
Yes.
I'm learning another language. I'm learning to play bass guitar. I'm learning how to draw. I'm an athlete, so I'm now getting my body back into marathon, readiness, right? These are things that I'm doing because I enjoy being better. Yes. So why should you not take a class that will make you better. Listen, so I haven't done any tantric studies, but for some of you, you all know that I practice rope bondage, and there is a crazy intimacy that comes with taking rope and applying it to someone's body. There's a connection that is not, it's not even sexual. It is, there's an intimacy in the closeness between me and the person that I'm tying, right?
I'm coming to get tied by you.
All right,
next time I'm in the States, I'm heading to New Jersey.
But see, there's a level of intimacy because you have to place a lot of trust in the person that's doing that.
A lot of communication.
And that's why I say that. And that's why I say that with him, because I trust Jay. And I have a lot of control issues. I know that. I'm not gonna let anybody tie me up.
But you let Jay do it?
I will let him do it. I will let him do it. Because I'm like, what if they tie me up and then go leave or rob everything or kill me or something? Who knows?
But you know what? That opens up another subject, right? Patience. Like, we too impatient. We meet someone and we already on the relationship escalator after a week, after a month, after 3 months, after 6 months. Yo, honestly, to me, I don't really feel like I truly know someone until like a year has passed. That's just me.
You can have longer time and still not know them.
So you live with them.
I'm just saying, I'm just talking about me.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about me. I'm just, but
well, the thing is, that person could not tell you stuff. That person can let a lot of stuff out, and then you think you know them, and then bam.
That's true. But remember who I am. I ask a lot of questions.
But you're an anomaly. A lot of people don't ask a lot of questions.
But that's why we're having this talk, right, Chelsea?
Exactly.
Yes. To get people to understand that
education.
Yes. They gotta. Everybody's got to do the work, right? If you're not sure who someone is after a year, it's not necessarily that you're a bad person or that you didn't care or that you didn't see red flags. Sometimes it's just you just didn't ask enough questions.
Okay,
and maybe even if you did, maybe they were like really deceptive. And then if I say, and I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna be quiet, but you gotta pay attention to your gut, because if you're asking questions and you're constantly asking similar type questions and the shit don't feel right, you're ignoring your gut. Pay attention to your gut. Your gut does never steer you wrong. It's there. It's the judgment to keep you safe.
Yes, I agree with that 100%.
Yes. So what are some of the questions to ask? Let's do that, because a lot of times people just don't know what to ask. But before you guys answer that, real quick, I don't think Cliff was on when you guys said your ages, but he's asking, and Cliff doesn't want to know my age. Cliff asked, how old are you, Jay Aaron? He's my cousin, so he already knows. I'm messing around. But he asked, how old are you, Jay, Aaron, and Chinzia, and what are your marital status?
I'm 46. I'm divorced. I have a new partner. Well, shouldn't say new, but I have a partner of 4.5 years. Living partner.
Chinzia,
I'm 26 and in a relationship.
26 and in a relationship. Okay.
All right. I am 45 and I have been married 26 years.
All right. Okay, so what are some of the questions then? What are some of, for those who don't know, because there's a lot of people who don't know what to ask. Like, okay, can each of you give maybe like 5 questions? Is that a lot? 5 questions that you think is really, really important that you should ask to get to know someone. And I'm gonna be taking notes. Hold on. I just shook. Go ahead. Y'all got your pen and paper ready? Get your pen and paper ready.
That's something I need to grab one.
So with the disclosure, okay, so I have been married 26 years, but I did have a separation for 6-7 months where, a couple years back where, I did try the online dating. So some of the questions off the bat is just to know relationship status. And so I see Brenda came into the comments, but she has a question that I thought was funny. So the question is, what is your relationship status? And if they say single,
hold up. Brenda, how you gonna come onto this live and type in questions when you know you're supposed to be on this live with us.
And well, while she's commenting, the second question is there anyone who thinks that they're in a relationship with you? So I think those are the first two questions.
Say that again. Say that again. And I agree with that, but say that again.
So the first question is, what is their relationship status? And if they say single or, unattached, then the second question is there anyone else who thinks that they're in a relationship with you?
Yes. And go ahead.
Well, those are the top two.
Okay, top two. Okay.
So there's so many questions. I don't want to name a top five. I'm going to tell you things that I think about, and not in any particular order, but these are questions that matter to me, right?
Okay.
One, what type of relationship do you want for yourself? Are you looking for something that is committed? Are you looking for something that's committed and also monogamous? Are you looking for something that's committed and non-monogamous? Because committed is not owned by monogamy at all. You got to understand that there's a difference. Do you know your love language? Where do you see yourself relationship wise in 1 year, in 3 years, in 5 years? Where do you see yourself living in 1, 3, and 5 years? Because you got to think about how much of an investment you might want to make in someone that's like, oh, by the way, I'm moving next month. I'm moving a year from now. I'm definitely out. That's just a couple of the things. They're not necessarily meshed together, but these are some of the things that we don't always think about.
Jay, not to cut you off, but really quick, so from the time that you started the online dating to now, are those questions that have evolved through experience, or did you start out that way?
Good question.
I think it's less to do about online dating as far as how that's worked for me, and just life in general, just relationships that I've been in. I've had a lot of relationships, right? And I've learned a lot about what's important to me.
So there's been an evolution. So you've had an evolution to where you've grown to ask those questions. So if someone's just starting out today or tomorrow and they're going online to create their site, their profile, whatever, and they start engaging in conversations, how would you word some of those? Like, one of the things I thought you said great was about monogamy. Are you looking for committed, monogamous? I think those are very important questions to distinct, and not assume what the other person may think the answer is.
Yeah.
Can I add on real quick while you're thinking? One question that Brenda would say is, do you have a dog? So let's throw that question in there for Brenda. Go ahead, Jay. Those who were on last time with her, they know. Yeah, you're gonna have to watch the last live. It was the last Wednesday of the month, I believe, so you can understand why I said that. All right, go ahead, Jay.
What was the question again? What was the question I was answering?
Oh, sorry.
So since you had the evolution, my question, since there was the evolution, if somebody was starting out brand new today, what would be a couple of direct questions to ask to avoid those little traps that people fall into?
Yeah, I think so like, no matter who you are, thanks, Adia. No matter who you are, I think the questions that you asked earlier, does someone think they're in a relationship with you, right? And that's good, because you should know what you want, right? If you are a person that is looking for a serious, committed, monogamous relationship, yeah, you should absolutely want to know if someone is already partnered, or if someone thinks that they're partnered with that person. I think you should ask them what a relationship means to them. Because we can both say we want a relationship, but you ask 50 people what a relationship is, you may get 50 answers, right? So be specific in asking someone, well, what does a relationship mean to you? Man, some of this, I wish, we had thought about some of this before we got on this call, because I would have loved to have come with a prepared list of questions.
There's always next month.
Next month. Yeah, we got next month. We're going to be continuing on the same topic.
Right.
So, really, Aaron, not to cut you off, David, Aaron, because I know we're probably running close on time. What are some questions for you?
So I really like a lot of questions that Jay asked. One thing I would just consider is, trying to get to know their communication style and also what is their intention, right? So I might ask something about like, what's the relationship with your parents like? Because normally that'll tell you a lot of what they're bringing into the relationship that may not be a reflection of you, but just to, give you more insight on who they are as a person and what made them the way they are. But then that also brings into question what Jay was saying, what are your love languages? Is that something they consider? How do they view themselves in a relationship? Like, what kind of identity do they assume when they're engaged with somebody romantically? Are they somebody that's wants to be a provider? Do you want to be somebody that's taken care of? And all of those different kind of questions kind of lead you to, what is your overall purpose for wanting, what is going to be the purpose behind like us engaging in sharing time with each other? Because, time is something you can't get back. So as a man, I want to know where your head is at. And I'm pretty sure a woman wants to know where my head is at. So I feel like communication and intention are definitely two buckets to touch on first.
Yeah. Can I add on to that? Don't date anyone that you do not have time to date. And you should be asking whomever you meet, hey, what kind of time do you have available? Because they could be great on paper, but if they're never able to meet up with you, to talk to you, it doesn't always mean they have a relationship. Sometimes people are just really busy. I'm a real busy dude, right? And I would do, if I'm making time for someone, something else is probably not getting done, right? But bottom line is, like, you should want to know that this person that you think is great actually has time to date you. Not time to date, but time to date you.
Yes, that's great. You know what? And I want to say thank you so much, Jay, for making time to be here on this live with us. That means a lot.
My pleasure.
So I want to say, just from my experience, and Renee, I'm sure you can agree that these are not the typical guys you encounter on the site. This is not the typical questions that you get asked. These are not the typical.
But that's why I asked them. That's why I asked them to be here. So go ahead.
I want to add something else. Another thing you want to ask people, and there's, there are probably multiple ways that you can ask this question, right? But a lot of us have traumas, relationship trauma, childhood traumas. You want to ask the person, hey, have you done any therapy about things from your past that will help you in your present, right? Because so many everybody needs therapy, some form of therapy. Even if you don't necessarily go to professional, you need to have talked that shit out to someone at some point in your life and been able to have gotten real feedback that can help you to grow. Whatever form that comes in, it's a thing. It's part of the work that is necessary in growing and being better. And we just don't do enough of it. And, like somebody talked about, we don't talk enough about, especially in the Black community, about mental health. All of that is part of mental health. We get into these relationships with people, or people just online dating. We're just setting up our profile, and we don't consider that the way we set up a profile can show a lot of imbalance. Let me tell you, how many profiles I've read, and a woman is ranting, I don't want this and I don't want that. Like, bro, what do you want?
Okay, so speaking of profiles, men, oh my goodness, the pictures, the photos. So for me, that is a big, like, I'm very detail oriented. So like if you're looking at my background right now, you see the pool thing, you see all this different stuff. When I'm looking at profiles, I'm looking in the background. What do they have on the desk? If they're saying they're single, but you see a woman's dress hanging. So, again, even setting up the profile, the photo, everything, it speaks volumes before you even open your mouth. It's kind of like a resume.
I'll see a lot of guy pictures and they have beer in their hands, like 2 or 3 pictures with beer. And then I'm like, okay, that's not somebody for me because I'm not a drinker. Well, I'm trying not to drink like that, and so, your profile picture is so important, what you're writing. And so, but so many times, to your point, Jay, so many times people know what they don't want, but they don't know what they want.
Yep.
And so that's where the work comes in. What is it that I want? And so Mr. Antoine also said something about asking about spiritual religious beliefs. And I think that's important too, because that's a question that many people don't ask. And then they end up getting married and one person is Catholic, the other is Muslim, and then they have kids. And it's like, now how do we raise our kids? Because you never had that whole conversation. And then that's another question. Do you want kids? What type of parent would you be? Like, what are your thoughts on how you would raise? Because sometimes people are just so different. You might have one parent who's like, no, we're not going to talk about sex with the kids. Another parent, like me, let's talk about sex all day, every day with the kids. Soon as they're asking questions, let's be upfront, let's be open, let's be honest, so you have to make sure you're on the same value. You have the same value system. You want the same things. You think the same way. And so those are really, really important.
So,
okay, Cliff says, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Since we're talking about profiles, right? And Chinzia, you said, what are some things that people should be doing? You talked about pictures. Okay. Now, I'm not going to talk about what the ladies should do because, I want to tell people, I want to talk to the men out here, right? Dudes, check this out. I know you think you're sexy, right? But put a shirt on.
Oh my God.
Put a shirt on. Get out of the bathroom. Not taking a selfie in just like your dirty room. Like these are things that women are telling me constantly that they see men do. Stop taking pictures with your children and putting them on your dating profiles. I know you love your dog, but please don't post pictures with your dog licking you in the mouth.
For Brenda's sake, please. So we can get her, man.
Look, these are things that I have. Listen, I have a lot of women who come to me and they're like, "Yo, what is wrong with your species?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no, right? Stop with even if you wake and bake every day. Stop with the cloudy, smoky pictures. I mean, hey, there's a way to present that." And let people know.
Oh, for the older guys, do not use a picture from 20 years ago.
Please, right.
I'm telling you, the furniture, the outfit, it dates you. Like,
right. I'm telling, like, it's like, so this is, to you guys, to everybody's point. People are making profile pictures, but they're not thinking about it. They're not thinking about what they want to attract. And it's like we go onto these profiles. Yes, it's a cloudy picture. Can't even really see your face. You don't have a shirt on. And when you don't have a shirt on, I'm automatically thinking you just want sex because you don't have a shirt on. So I'm swiping to the left, X, whatever. Yeah, I'm swiping to the left. To the left. So
that works both ways. If you want sex, then you go with the no shirt on, and the women who just want sex will respond to the no shirt.
Right, exactly. And so those are really important things. And I agree. Nothing with the kids. I'm telling you, for me personally, when I've seen the no shirt on, when I've seen alcohol, if I've seen cigarettes, because I do not like cigarettes, when I've seen kids, I don't mind have a dog on there. Even though I'm not a pet person, but I do have a dog and 2 cats. Here where I live, they're not mine, they're the Temple's. But if I see those things, I'm swiping to the left, And so, so I think it's being very conscious of, or even if you just have one picture up, because you could be catfishing. Like, I don't know, maybe that's not even a picture of you. So why do you only have one picture of you up? you know. And then there's some people who don't have any picture of them. It's like all these other things.
That's not a profile of me. If you don't have any pictures, that's not a profile of me. I'm
like,
that's not interesting anybody.
Real private for a reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do have to end. So closing thoughts, because I know this be so good. We want to just keep talking. But we did have an idea as well for next time. Cliff says, next show, women's expectations and what do they bring to the table? Cliff, I got men on here because I got women asking questions. Okay, but we'll accept that. We'll accept that. What do you guys think? You want to talk about that next? How does that sound?
Sure.
Yeah, that can be part of it. Yeah,
I like that.
Somebody said you shouldn't tell them what to do on profile pics because now they may paint a false reality and believe. Okay, I get Mr. Anthony's point. Go ahead, Aaron.
I just think with profile pictures and pictures you put up, like, of course you want to, so the type of picture you put up corresponds to the type of person you want to attract or what you're trying to attract. Like what we said, if you're putting up hazy pictures about smoking, whatever, you probably want somebody to smoke with. Shirt off, you probably want somebody for sex or whatever, and cool. If that's your only way of being intentional about what you want on social media or any dating profile, you are not going to get far. And if you're putting up a picture on a social media or like dating profile, you know, people want to see you have something of substance. They don't want to see all there is to you. Like, you shouldn't be able to read who somebody is in a profile in the first, 10 seconds of looking at their page. If that's the case, there's no need for a conversation. If there's no need for any kind of interaction beyond that. So, definitely just err on the side of showing that you have something more of substance, I would say. But, you can still be intentional without just broadcasting it that way. And Jay, you got a reaction. So.
I don't fully agree with that.
And I was going to say that too. I was going to say people are, it doesn't matter if we say, I don't like this, I'm swiping X, because they're going to put on based on what they want. So if someone wants someone serious, if there's somebody who's not out there for sex, they're not going to put a shirt on, a profile picture without a shirt on. So people who want what they want, they're going to put what they want to put on there. Does that make sense? So those who want somebody to drink and all of that, they're going to put those pictures. Because I say that's not what I want, and I'm swiping to the left, that's not going to make X take that off, because he's not going to want somebody like me. And why would he put something that's not him? Because when we start talking, we're going to realize that we're not a match anyway, and it's not going to work. So
it's that least effort thing we talked about earlier.
Yeah. So we're going to have Jay check out our profiles to get them right.
You know what? If you want me to look at your profile, send me a DM and we can talk about it, because, I've read enough profiles and I've heard enough feedback from women about men's profiles that I could give you some guidance on it. So you can hit me up on Instagram at Mr. J Speaks, and I'll help you. I have no problem helping with that.
All right, I'm hitting you up.
Hit me up.
So real quick, Adia, and I don't know if you're pronouncing your name right. I'm probably pronouncing it with a Brazilian accent, but I love it. I love it that way. Correct me if I'm wrong. So, but she says, good selection of brothers. Get some knuckleheads next time.
The knuckleheads won't come.
Right.
No.
I don't really frequent with knuckleheads. So, okay, cool. I don't frequent with knuckleheads. So, we're not gonna have no knuckleheads on here. It would be fun though. You get a laugh.
There was a guy that I was friends with for a long time. We had a falling out, but he and we see relationships. It was weird that we were friends because I'm like pretty even kill, and he's just like, he's a knucklehead. he's
I'm gonna put an ad out saying knuckleheads wanted for my next meeting.
Yeah.
Oh,
all right. So this has been fun. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Did you finish? Go ahead and finish that, Jay. I'm so
no,
bad
I
with
was done. I was done.
Okay.
This is just fun. I'm glad to that we did this again, and I'm looking forward to next month. Again, if anybody wants to reach out to me, you can find me on Instagram at Mr. J Speaks.
All right, Aaron, you want to give your information, because you're gonna get blown up now.
Yeah. So my primary.
And you got that deep voice too.
So my primary expertise is education, but this is something like, we all have a life and we all have a past and we all have a future. So that's something that I consider myself well versed in when it comes to relationships. So, I can be found at Instagram _cooljones_. Otherwise, like I said, or like Jay said, I definitely appreciate checking in with everybody, and much love to everybody in the chat. The comments were very helpful as well.
And I was going to say, I stumbled upon this group during quarantine, and it made the summer fun. Tuesday nights I look forward to, and now being a part of this is really great. And I'm not a professional. I'm not an expert. I just have real life experience.
You got real life experience.
I'm at Chintzia Bella 2018 on Instagram.
So, I want to say I am an expert. No, but, it's interesting. So those of you who know me, who's been following me, I'm a psychotherapist, but I'm also a tantric therapist, a sex and relationship coach. And normally on Wednesdays, I have different sex therapists on here talking with me. But again, because this group, there's been actually more of us. There's about 15 of us steady strong on Tuesday nights who've been doing adult conversations. And we've really had some great conversations. We've learned a lot. We've grown a lot. And everyone on there is an anomaly. Everybody on there is like really special, smart, like spiritual, like in a different place, right? So I'm just fortunate. And so I was like, let me get my group on here from the Tuesdays on Wednesdays and let's talk. I didn't think it was going to be like this consistent, but it's just been so great. Everybody's been loving it that we've just kept it going. And now I would do it every Wednesday if we could, but I'm trying to keep to my regular Wednesday.
Keep the professionalism going. And Renee is awesome. I mean, I enjoy so much of what you post. When I go back on your YouTube lives, I always find something that relates to me in that moment. So yes.
Thank you. So yeah, so usually on Wednesdays, I usually have an expert coming on, a sex therapist or a sex coach or a pleasure coach or someone in that field, or a tantric therapist or yogi or someone like that. So, my goal is to continue having these conversations about sexuality, to release the taboo. And so we could just grow and learn together and really have fun doing it. You see my personality. I'm not trying to be all serious and like I know everything, because I'm learning too. Everything is a process and we're all learning. And that's so right. Each time I have a live, I'm learning from the people that I have on here. So I'm really grateful and I'm really honored that all of you are taking your time from your busy day to be here, because there's so much going on. We have so much, there's work, there's kids. I mean, so many different things. So I really do appreciate that you're here and you're making this effort. So thank you once again. You guys can reach me at Prandhara Prem _Tantra on Instagram. If you're new to my YouTube, please go ahead and subscribe. If you've enjoyed this conversation, which I think most of you have, because we've been this was fun, enjoyed the conversation, very great live. Share this. That's a big way of getting rid of the stigma. It's a big way of helping someone who might not have asked a question. So share this with your friends, share this with your family. And if you're new, again, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notifications bell so you can get reminders when I'm coming on live again.
One more shout
Renee,
out.
Thank you for bringing the hot guys, smart hot guys.
Oh yeah, hey, I can't be tantric without bringing on hot and smart guys and sensual guys. I'm about to go to New York and New Jersey because Aaron is in New York. Jay is in New Jersey. I'm about to go there, get my eye candy on, and then get tied up. Oh, wait, Aaron, I'm gonna just want you in that room. So while I'm tied up, I can look at both of y'all. How about that?
No,
That's gonna be
I'm mad
orgasmic.
at it.
We don't need to have sex. We don't need to touch. Just be tied, and I'm gonna just be looking.
Hit me up out
Got
there
a
if you
couple,
want that.
participants.
All right. I will. All right. Well, thank you guys. So I will see you all next month.
Ciao.
All right.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
What's up, y'all?
All right. Bye, everyone.